We've seen bits and pieces, some more than others, of all of Battlefield 6 upcoming later this fall and into next year likely at some points. Mostly we've seen multiplayer from the earliest Battlefield Labs teasers into subsequent leaks, but recently in an official and public way of the beta weekends. We've seen trailers and clips from the campaign. We've even seen a small glimpse at the upcoming Battle Royale in a short little teaser. That, though while not confirmed verbally, it's the worst kept secret in gaming at the moment. While we've seen a lot more of two of those things than the other, we're going to be seeing even more out in the wild soon. Today we're taking a look at the next big play-tested items and what you can likely expect to see, along with what we know so far. So drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe to stay updated with all things Battlefield 6 as we draw closer to launch, along with other FPS content I'd love to have in the community. But for now, let's jump into it. So first, one of the big things coming out of the beta was that we didn't get enough larger maps. Liberation Peak was that only map that was kind of comparable to the classic Battlefield experience. Large scale, all-out warfare, a chaotic sequence of events with all types of combat, infantry, tanks, helicopters, jets, and other things like, while not in the beta, or what appears to be even at launch, naval combat. It's already been confirmed that scaling is meant to be used for offering a bit of everything to everyone, with maps being broken up into infantry only, tank-centric maps, helicopter-centric maps, or jets and everything all included in one. Kind of like subcategories trying to fit a certain playstyle for certain maps and trying to tailor that to the player experience. And that works for some people, not for others. But larger scale combat will be there at launch with the maps of Liberation Peak seen in the beta, but also confirmed with a new map called Myrick Valley and Operation Firestorm, a returning map from Battlefield 3 and the post-launch DLC of Battlefield 4. But for players who don't necessarily want to wait until the launch to see it, it was actually recently announced that Battlefield Labs, once testing begins again for this, will actually in the near future feature those maps of Firestorm and Myrick Valley. Now, it's very likely that stuff will leak out for this, so even if you're not in labs, you're probably going to see some footage out there on Reddit, Twitter, maybe YouTube, TikTok, wherever you end up getting your fill of gaming media, it's probably going to be out there in some capacity. Now, one thing, while we haven't gotten to that point yet, I recently saw an updated outline in terms of area and sizing for maps, and Myrick Valley apparently had an update that appears to adjust some of the boundaries, but like more so trims the fat from the map while extending it elsewhere. So it seems like the area is still relatively the same, but the size of the map looks like it could hold maybe about maybe 2.5 Liberation Peaks in it. So when we talk about a larger experience, it is a larger experience akin to more classic Battlefield experiences. The same post also had additional maps like that map of New Quebec City coming within the launch of Battlefield 6. Not a jet map, funnily enough, but was about 1.5 times the size of what appeared to be Liberation Peak in that sizing. So when you have jets on Liberation Peak, but a bigger map that's more so focused on helicopters, as they said, but not jets, it's kind of strange. And then there was a post-launch map of Eastwood, which appears to maybe fit about 2 Liberation Peaks in it, while another called Badlands, apparently a heavy work in progress build, so probably a few months out at least, maybe for like the second DLC drop, that looks to be just under the size of Myrick Valley, so maybe like 2 or 2.25 Liberation Peaks. So there are these big maps in the pipeline, and some of them are being tested, like Firestorm and Myrick Valley, which is definitely cool. I'd be curious though, actually, just kind of like sidebar, what other people think of this. Like when we take a look at even more stuff being added into labs this close to launch, I'm all for testing this kind of stuff out with the community. And I think that labs is absolutely a net positive. I'm just curious if like seeing more leaves less to the imagination or less excitement for maybe the launch itself. I feel like I've seen that happen in the past with where games are over revealed, but also at the same time, I mean, who knows? I just was genuinely surprised when they announced they were going to add even more maps in this close to launch for more labs testing. But anyways, probably the bigger thing though coming to labs though soon in terms of scale and sort of importance to the overall gameplay sort of pillars of the game and their long-standing plan is the Battlefield 6 Battle Royale, detailed as coming to labs, because at the reveal it was mentioned that Ripple Effect was working on a brand new experience, nothing more, nothing less. Byron Beatty and Vince Zampella left the stage, and a teaser showcased a sort of Hollywood Hills mansion with a ton of action going on around it, with a pan 180 degrees to the Ring of Fire closing in, with simply the mention of coming soon to labs. So the Battle Royale is coming to Battlefield Labs soon, where players will be able to play the Battle Royale for themselves, seeing what it's all about. Now, this in particular, I'd actually be very curious to see if they do like intermittent testing, focusing on specific core elements like they did with other aspects of labs, testing destruction one day, gunplay another, and periodically adding more areas of play space in more maps. Like, I'd be curious if they really just let everyone run free on the whole map, or if they break it into smaller like chunks or subsections per test. but that should be coming relatively soon as well. I would kind of imagine that they end up doing the bigger maps of Firestorm and Myrick Valley first, and then maybe moving into labs. Soon might be something that's like post-launch even, because like, again, we don't have a whole ton of time to get more further labs testing. So to add multiple maps into labs leading to launch, and then also putting the Battle Royale in there, I don't know. That seems like a lot to jam in a month, whereas you could spread it out a little further, but I mean, who knows? One thing that I am very curious to see is all of what we've already heard about in action for Battle Royale, because for those that don't remember, we actually did see a lot of stuff leak out from Temporeal about the Battle Royale experience itself. A little bit about the sort of narrative where an explosive disaster exposed a classified military R&D facility to attacks from unidentified PMC groups. There's a ring of something called NXC, which is your sort of encroaching fire ring. It's never stable. It's something that instantly destroys anything it touches, so buildings and everything will collapse with that. But you also know of things like scavenging, priority missions, countering missions. The one thing that I'm very curious on is how they deal with second chance mechanics within what is apparently this Battle Royale. Because even at its core, it seems like for a short time after infill, it said, you get one free redeployment after death. So let's just theoretically say it's like the first 2 minutes of a match. If you die right off the rip, you're not done just yet. And that doesn't really count against you, it seems like. There's also redeploy points where you and your squad mates can get a fellow teammate back into the action, sounding more so like the Fortnite redeploy locations, not necessarily like a buy station where you can get players back, but I mean, it could be either or. But one of the big functions that differs from Battle Royale games is how players can interact with the game even while out of play, that I'm curious to see how this actually works in a gameplay experience. Because there's this thing called the oversight system, which will allow soldiers to, when out of the fight, access remote cameras, drones, and turrets that can give intel to your teammates on where enemies may be. There are things called oversight terminals that'll give your dead teammates control of advanced security systems with lethal potential, and they have access to oversight gadgets, which, even if you don't control an oversight terminal, allows your dead squad mates to use local security cameras in the area to maintain visibility. Public cameras, drones, turrets, all controllable in this downed and out of the fight state. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. Obviously, on paper, it could be drastically different from what's actually playable and how it actually flows in labs, but we're still a little ways off from that. But it will be coming to labs soon, and that's the next big pillar of the game. We have campaign and multiplayer launching on the 10th, but it's still unmentioned when the Battle Royale will be coming. So that could be coming a couple of months after launch. It could be coming half a year. We don't quite know. But labs is one of those interesting things where there's not really too much publicly said. Like, if you are in labs, they let you know when tests will be happening. But for right now, when to expect this, nothing's been officially listed just yet. The last labs test, as of recording this, again, pre-recording a lot of the stuff here that you'll see this week, just because I'm simply out, was reportedly mid-July with the last test, which makes sense because it gets the testing out of the way for the reveal, then into the beta. But one nice thing is that if you do want to have a chance at this and you're not in labs, apparently labs testing has actually opened back up. It appears they've since opened it since closing it for the beta because, again, if you guys remember, there wasn't any sort of pre-order attachment to the early access of the beta. It was truly only if you had a code, which you could get from streams or giveaways, or if you had at any point signed up for labs. You didn't even have to be a part of the labs testing or be like accepted into the program. You just had to have signed up with it with your EA account and you could get in. So they closed that so it didn't inundate the system and kind of flood everything and not get everybody their codes. But that's since been opened back up. Now, if you apply, will you get picked? It's not a guarantee. I mean, it's probably worth still giving a shot if you're not already in and you're interested in checking this stuff out. Though, do recognize you'll be under NDA for that kind of stuff. So if anything leaks out, it's actually subject to legal action. Whether or not EA will want to take that action, who knows? But personally, I don't care to try. I don't care to find out that. But if you get in, recognize it'll be under NDA, but the builds are also early access. So you're going to see things that are stress testing servers, gameplay mechanics, finding bugs and things like that. But also it seems like a lot of these builds are a few months out of date when they're testing them. So it could be something that maybe your feedback that you may have for that is already accounted for and already actually in development. But anyways, Labs has some cool stuff upcoming. If you guys want to check it out, make sure you try and at least sign up for it if you're not in already. But for right now, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Pretty interesting stuff, I think, coming in the next month leading up to Battlefield 6's launch and then potentially beyond. Again, depending on when they drop the larger multiplayer maps versus the Battle Royale experience, we don't quite know which one is going to be which just yet. But that's going to wrap it up. Just want to fill you guys in, keep you in the loop. Drop your thoughts on what you think here. Drop a like if you guys enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe to stay updated with all things Battlefield 6 and other FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care, and peace.